to review the newspaper, but we are now joined by Honorable Joe Mutambo, who is a former Member of Parliament for Mwingi Central. We have Koki Ocheng, who's a lecturer at USIU in Media Studies and Communication, and Mark Bichachi, who is a political analyst. And well, the Kenya National Examination Council has marked at least 20 school examination cheating hotspots and blamed parents for continued attempt to destroy examination credibility. But why do students cheat in exams? Here are some of your thoughts.
So, story ya cheating, naweza sema students wamekuwa wakishughulikiwa poa kabla waanze exams, wanasachiwa. But unapata most of them wanajaribu juu chini wa cheat juu unapata squeeze education, kila mtu anataka at least akue at least na marks poa, akue na grades poa. So unapata anadu means zote wa cheat. Alafu unapata pia hizi ma cheating papers ziko available. Unapata maybe kuna mse anadu job kwa NEC, paper moja imetoka na inatoka tu huku nje na sambaa, yezi kosa zuu patikana huku hivi.
First of all, students are motivated by their seniors, their seniors, like teachers, the people in government, everyone. You know, I look up to my parents. So I see my parents cheat, I'll be motivated to do it. Secondly, the principals of schools, they are under pressure to perform. You see, such things are the ones that are making students to cheat. Thirdly, you see how the government has put these, how do you call it, the cut-off points. So there are some people who want to make it to the university, but they don't have the opportunity. So the only way they can do that is by cheating.
Uaga inachagia mtoto anataka afurahishe mama yake, ili hali saa zingine kama anakosa mwangaza kama mshago, anakosa mwangaza ya kusoma jioni, hakuna stima, maybe akona huko chini, so afanyi homework, so analirai na yule mtoto genius, so juu anataka kupita, inafikia mahali anataka kuangalia answer kwa mwenzake pale.
All right, and that's just a sample of what people had to say in regards to exam cheating, and we'll come to the strike that is now looming. But let me start with you, Honorable Joe Mutambo, and you listen to what Kenyans have to say in regards to cheating. Don't we need to rethink our education system by virtue of the fact that we've put so much emphasis on the examination to a point where we don't care so much about understanding the concepts, understanding what education really is. We are so much towards passing the examination, but what do we do about that? But maybe just to get your opening remarks.
I will not think about these systems. I'll think about the end results. And I'll ask myself the reason why a child would want to think. Maybe we exact a lot of pressure to our children. Like I said before that I lived in America. And it's totally different from what we see in Africa. When your child performs poorly in Kenya, you ask them, niliuza ng'ombe nilipeleka ingine shule. But when a child performs poorly in America, the question is totally different. You can do better, my son, or you can do better, we don't encourage it. So that is a pressure exacted from the family. And then at the end of the day, where do I take this certificate? The employer is only looking at the certificate, but they are not looking at what I can do, what is my talent, what am I able to do, what can I offer. They are just they want to see whether it's got C or B or D or A. That's what we charge people. So the pressure we exact on students is too much that it leads to cheating. Then number two, why are we, and I like it when I hear somebody say there are schools marked. Why are they being called schools? If there's a school which we know that they cheat, why do we let them? That's the question we need to ask. So I will not bother too much about the system, because will the system change the cheating? The end result will change the cheating.
Koki, you're a lecturer. What do we need to rethink about our education system? And I'm sure you receive, since you're lecturing in university, you receive students who have already gone through, the basic education. And we have so much emphasis on an examination to a point where even if somebody got the A's, sometimes they cannot practically use those A's in the marketplace.
I think any student who gets an A in Kenya is a very good, is very good in memory work. you know, just being able to cram and getting the answers right. And of course, then there are some subjects that lend themselves to that kind of, you know, cognitive development where you have to think, you know, kind of cram and then apply, you know, that is okay. But the bottom line is like what Mheshimiwa is saying, the potential. Do we make sure that we feed those children with enough for them to be potentially as good as they can be? Because children have different capabilities, children have different personalities, children have different abilities. Do we take that into cognizance? And I was hoping that the new education system would look at it from that perspective. Because again, parents, we are also to blame, or the society is also to blame, because we are looking at children as a status symbol. We want them to go through the processes that we've set in their lives, go to school, get married, get a job. Oh, is it go to school, get a job, get married, get children? We want them to go through that chronological, you know, sequence, which is not realistic, because not everybody matures in the same way or has the same opportunities or is able to adjust. Some are late bloomers. We don't have consideration for those things. So just the idea that my child has done well and is kind of a status thing for me could be one of the issues. Again, it is believed through education. Remember, so many vijana, ongeze pia bidii. The idea that, yes, education is a way out of whatever predicament you think you are in at a given time. Then you find that the easier way is for you to probably impress your parents and get yourself out of that situation. Again, when we were going to school earlier on, you know, education was calibrated. You knew that after standard 8, you'd go to a youth polytechnic. You knew after Form 4, you'd go to strong tertiary colleges. And then you knew if you made it to campus, you'd go to campus and you would be placed accordingly. And of course, there's a situation where you can still rise today, but if that was in place, then there's no point of really struggling to get a grade that will take you somewhere where you don't even fit.
All right. Yeah. Mark Bichachi, your thoughts on our education system and the fact that maybe we need to rethink that word, education, because we put so much weight on the academics to a point where somebody who may not be an A student academically is considered not to have passed yet. They're intelligent in other areas.
You know, we should just stop calling it a Ministry of Education and call it a Ministry of Examination, because the only thing that matters is an examination, which is very, very silly, because the whole point of being examined is to show you where you are competent and where you are incompetent. That's the whole point, okay? The whole point, actually, of going through an exam is to be shown that you are very stupid in physics, but you're very bright in
biology or whatever.
Biology or social studies. So in that sense, there's never really a failure. You understand? Because the truth of the matter is this, and I was a victim of this, is that in Kenya, if you pass in physics, you are considered to be more clever than if you passed in English. And therefore, they decided that my grade in physics versus my grade in English, I deserve to go do engineering. Okay, which I suffered through and wondered, why do we have long formulas? Because I was born to talk, you understand? So we do not have an emphasis on developing the most important asset any country can have, that is the natural talents and abilities of its citizens. And the problem with such a system is we are going more and more into a world where everything is disruptive. Okay? Engineering as a career is about to even end because we have computers today which will 3D print a custom-made part from a problem. So at which point will we need engineers in the traditional sense? What Kenya needs to understand is, as a developing country, we need to change our education system into a capacity building system, into a system where from the time you are a child, we are beginning to identify where you are a footballer. Where if you're a footballer, we give you 4 lessons of PE and 1 lesson of mathematics. Because as it is today, the footballer, the engineer, the artist have double math, double English, single Kiswahili, 20 seconds of PE. That's the problem. So we need to begin to custom make our education system for the talents and abilities of our children. And what that does is no child is afraid of failing because they are naturally talented in it. You understand? It's like telling me, you're going to give me a talking exam tomorrow. I will sleep today because tomorrow I'll win, because that is my talent. But you tell me to face one of my engineering classmates tomorrow on doing Laplace transform or advanced mathematics too, my friend, I will cram the whole night and will still beat me in the morning. All right, what we need to change in this country.
But we cannot ignore the fact that we also need to look at our teachers' plight, and we have a looming strike which has been threatened by KNUT. And allow me to just read something here, which is a forward I got from somebody that says, teachers are not common people, and common people are not teachers. Please don't choose to become a teacher until you are worth it. Then Germany seems to be one of the countries that really has taken care of their teachers. And Angela Merkel was once asked by doctors and engineers, the engineers that you're talking about, if their salary can match that of teachers. This is just showing you how valuable teachers are. And this was the answer. Teachers in Germany have the highest salary in the country. And when judges, doctors, and engineers asked the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, for the same salary, she told them, how can I compare you with those who taught you? Which means where teachers have been placed in Germany is important for the virtual fact that those engineers, those doctors pass under the hands of teachers. But here in Kenya, it's the other way around. Just recently they were reviewing the pass mark for teachers, because teachers at some point seem to be those who have failed. Koki, your thoughts on this?
No, I am a teacher and I'm not a failure, and I don't think so.
I'm not saying you're a failure, but if you look at the pass grade that we for a long time have had for teachers, it's been C, you know, from C, whereas we should be looking at A's.
Teachers and policemen.
Exactly,
Which teachers? So, unless you're talking about diplomas or certificate teachers, the P1s, yeah. But generally, I think that I can attest, for those of us who've gone to university, we are just as good as anybody else. And we take even more units, 40, while others take 20, you know, if you're doing a BA.
But do you feel valued to the point where you're supposed to be?
It depends on what value is. Because I think, like you have put it, for you to be a teacher, there is more to motivate you, and it's more intrinsic for you to want every day to stand in front of people and teach them or pass knowledge to them. So it's not just something that you take for granted. I remember when I was choosing my courses in Form 6, I'd said BA, then I'll do journalism. You know, I didn't want, but when I did B.Ed, I just realized, okay, this is exactly where I fit at this current time. I always tell my students, you know, I can be anywhere I want to be, but I'm here. Because it's a calling. It's something that's noble. You're taking somebody's child, watching that child from age 13 to age 18 or age 25, and just observing the kind of changes they are making and who they are becoming. So it's not, you can imagine somebody who is in nursery, you know, being observed by somebody, by a teacher until that person is in standard 8. I mean, that's a lifetime, you know, thing that you can't take for granted. What I know with teaching is that teaching was comfortable at some point, because you would find that the school environment would be one that would cater for the teacher. There would be concessions on your children getting the benefit of best education. You'd be able to monitor your children. You'd be able to manage to live a decent life. What has changed is the ability to live a decent life, and not exorbitant. I'm talking about a decent life. You find that in schools previously, there would be decent school houses for teachers. There would be decent meals that they could partake. You become integrated to the school because of the decency around you. But that
has changed.
Yeah, that has changed. And what's happening today, I was in Korea like this weekend, and I went to the schools and I was like, if these children are to compete with others in other schools, then we are just doing them an injustice. Education is a human right. And if it is not looked at from that perspective, that it's a human right, it is just a means to an end, then that's the beginning of the problem.
Of the problem. Yeah. All right, let me come to you, Honorable Mtambo. And we have TSC and KNUT having a standoff. Examinations are not too far off. They're in a few weeks. And this seems to happen. It's a cycle that seems to go on and on. According to KNUT, they say that some of the demands that they have made so far have not been honored. According to TSC, they say KNUT walked out of a meeting. But bottom line is, the learner is going to be the one who's going to suffer yet again. How do we resolve this? And the reason why I was even talking about Germany is because we seem not to value our teachers like we should, to a point where the negotiation is always at the back, yet the learner is the one who suffers.
First and foremost, allow me to declare my interest on teachers. I have some reservation for teachers and a lot of respect for teachers because I know what they do to us. We all pass through teachers. And so when it comes to thinking about teachers, they come number one from me. I don't know about others. I think like Mikhail. On the issue of the NUT, I think I am a little bit disturbed by the way they handle their business. They have turned the NUT, the organization, as a business tool. And now they come to twist the government, like what Bichacha said, to grab them where it hurts most. I don't think they have the children at heart when they make some such a decision of trying to go to strike during exam. Everybody would want to see an end result of what you have done. You would want to see, the result of your work. And the result of your work is after the child has done the examination and we've seen that they have done it better. If I were the TSC, I could have just gone to a simple tactics of managing a crisis. And the problem, I would say, is the TSC. Why are you deducting the teachers' money to pay the NUT in the first place? Why don't you give the teacher the money and tell them to pay the NUT so that that problem is solved? You will not have all these problems. These people are fighting because of there's money there. When you hear Mr. Honorable, now he's a member of parliament actually, is a member of parliament, speaking too loudly, not because he has that teacher at heart, but he knows that the paycheck is good. And that's why you hear him making a lot of noise. I don't think he has that teacher at heart. He is campaigning to be elected tomorrow to remain in the seat. But the more you say we are going to work or you are going to do whatever you are doing, but there is no money, nobody will see them at the NUT. So, and if you give the teacher the money, I don't think they'll submit that money to NUT. So the TSC is creating problem for itself. Why are you taking that responsibility to deduct the money? Maybe the bylaws are there, but why are you deducting that money to give it to NUT? Pay the teacher, let the teacher pay the NUT. You will see the change in this country.
All right.
Just crisis management
and
tactics.
Just to mention, the issue is actually not just pay, but there's also the delocalization issue, where they feel like, it's being mishandled. The president even is on record as saying that should be reviewed. Yet, according to NUT, it has not been reviewed. Bichachi, maybe your closing comments on this. I want us to move on to something else.
My advice to CS Amina and others within the Ministry of Education, please stop making decisions as though you are roadside chiefs, okay? Please consult teachers. I like what Koki had said. If you are in constant communication with unions and with the teachers, some of these problems will not have happened. Delocalization is a problem not because it was a bad idea, but because of how it was executed. It was executed without due regard to the teachers, without conversation with the teachers. This top-down approach of leading people does not work. It is the same thing with police uniforms. If you ask the police, they'll tell you we were not even given choices. They should have given them 5 designs to choose from. So as a government, please sit down with these teachers and learn consensus building. And it's a problem with a lot of our CSs. They sit in ivory towers and rule slums. It cannot work. Can you come down to the slum, find out how we live, and have plans from our point of view?
All right, and
maybe just to add in one thing more. A body like TSC is a human resource management body. So human resource as a practice has values and it has professional ways of doing its things. So I think a bit of what is required of them is really to reflect on how the operations are so that they strengthen the institution to the extent that it's not so porous that, NUT has inroads all the time. I think that's one thing that should be considered.
All right, and we do have a poll question that we have asked if you'd like to participate in that particular topic. Is NUT justified to call for a teacher strike with upcoming national exams? So far we have, let me see some of the comments that have come through. We have Titus Mutai, who says they are not justified at all. Why don't they want to sign the performance contract? In other sectors, people work far away from home. Delocalization of teachers will make them concentrate on teaching rather than doing their own work. Wow. We have Abdulaziz Awad, who says they should not strike because a few days remaining to the candidates to sit for the examinations. Joshua Carter says KNUT should not be thinking about a strike at the dying moment to the main exam. For once, they are to consider life of the children. This is to determine their future. Keep your comments coming and keep your votes coming. We'll go through them as we continue with the show. But this is Week in Review, so we'd like to look at other things and other stories that made headlines. Now, the Orange Democratic Movement has threatened to discipline elected leaders who do not toe the line, including expelling them from their party. But what do Kenyans think about the kicking out of rebel and members of parliament? And Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa, who has since dumped the Orange Democratic Movement, has vowed not to appear before the party's disciplinary team. But some leaders with Aisha Jumwa, who once Raila Odinga diehard, is pursuing personal interest as she dumps up support for Deputy President William Ruto in 2022.
Wasiwadanganye, hakuna barua mimi nimepewa kuapia before the disciplinary committee ya chama cha ODM. Maana tarehe 10 na mambo gangu muhimu sana na constituency. Kwa hivyo kama sina kazi tarehe 10 nitaenda holiday. Tunaelewana? Mimi si muuzaji tomato, mimi nimechaguliwa na wakazi wa Malindi. Na wakazi wa Malindi juzi walisema hapa. Kwa hivyo mimi mtu wa Malindi kwanza.
All right, and well, that's war of words right there. Let me start with you, Honorable Mutambo. And sometimes we are left wondering as the electorate, what changed? We know somebody like Aisha Jumwa was, literally an ODM diehard, but things seem to have changed. Is this because of maybe the 2022 carrot that might be dangling before her?
That's a $1 million question. And I would want to know, between Aisha Jumwa and Raila Amolo Odinga, who is a lesser evil here? Raila Amolo Odinga is singing Uhuru. Aisha Jumwa is singing Ruto. Who is a lesser evil here? Why are we victimizing Aisha simply because she's a mere woman and just a member of parliament? If our boss, who is Raila, can dine with Jubilee, why not Aisha clean the table? Because that's exactly what is happening. Raila told us, let us work with these people. So who is Aisha to defy orders from our boss? She's following orders from our boss. I have been a victim of the so-called rebels. I don't understand this rebel thing. When you are elected by people, you serve your people without fear or favor. The moment we cast our vote, the issue of parties cease to exist. You go out there and serve your people with the best way, with the best knowledge.
And isn't that the problem that we have, Mweshimiwa, let me pose you, because then it means that those parties are purely special purpose vehicles. They have no ideology, they have no direction, they have no weight. The minute you're elected, then you really do not need that party.
Parties mean nothing. I can say this today, tomorrow, till Jesus.
So why are you part of a party?
I'm saying, because we go to party because we just want to get to our seats. That's the problem we have in Kenya. The day democracy will prevail in Kenya, we will have political parties. We do not have political parties in Kenya. We have
special purpose
vehicles to take us to elections. And I want you to go back since to 1992. Since 2002. And I want to give you how Kibaki came to power. He came to power with a party called KNUT. Next time, PNU. Then came who? TNA. Then from TNA? Jubilee. What does that tell you? We had ODM. I mean, we had CORD. From CORD? NASA. What does that? We had Wiper. From Wiper? we had ODM Kenya. From ODM Kenya, we came to Wiper. Okay? The only party which has stayed in this country is KNUT, which people have rejected. But that's the only party I can say. It is the only political party which exists in this country.
Okay.
The rest, let me tell you, as a politicians, they are just personal tools, not political.
And that is the danger of the Aisha Juma conundrum. There are two things. Number one, the difference between supporting Uhuru and what Aisha is doing is she is going in direct competition in regard to 2022. If you support Uhuru, he's a lame duck in 2022. Now, I really don't care who Aisha Juma supports, because there is no reason for this support. She had no logic in supporting Raila in 2017, and she has no logic in supporting Ruto. She has just flipped allegiances because it is not an ideological shift, it is not a developmental shift, it is a temperamental shift. And that's the problem, that in this country our politics is guided more by feelings than it is by logic. Now, to address this issue, if she was a person of principle, she should have at least as much brain power as Boris Johnson in the UK, who wrote to his party and resigned from a position on the principle of disagreement, okay? If she is honest that she does not like where ODM is going, then she is free to write to ODM and say, I am no longer a member, and therefore lose a seat in parliament and go face the electorate again. That is a person of virtue. This idea of politicians yapping all over the place while yet at the same time not doing the right thing is the reason why we have incestuous immorality in parliament, because all they are doing is having very ridiculous roadside pedestrian arguments to the issues that affect Kenyans because they are not thinking. Okay. If there were people of principle, today we would be discussing what Parliament discusses. When was the last time we discussed what Parliament discusses? Only in crisis, because there are no new good ideas coming out of 349 people because they stopped thinking.
Koki?
It's just disingenuous for you to claim before elections that you're driving a manifesto. You are driving some principles, and then when you get there, you kind of like whatever you sold is dropped. I think it's disingenuous. I know it might be, it might be prudent for politicians in the given circumstance to be able to, make a choice of who they think will emerge as the top in 2022. But I think as a leader, if you have constituents, people who have cast their vote for you, and they trust that you have their interest at heart, it would be only, it will just be, like he said, an honor to do what you said you do before without politicking about issues that probably 5 years from now might change. I just think that's the only comment I can make.
Okay, yeah. And because of time, we'll have to wind up, but I'd want to get your closing comments, starting with you, Honorable Mtambo, because at the end of the day, this should speak to the electorate. And as a politician, you've, well, rightly put it, and you're saying this as somebody who is sitting on that seat right now, that we do not have political parties, we do not have ideology, so basically we vote for personalities. Whether those personalities will deliver or not remains really up to them. What is your advice to the electorate? Because 2022 might seem far now, but it's fast approaching. We can already see how the cards are playing.
I don't know whether I want to waste my energy advising Kenyans, because the church has said it all. We get angry at certain point, and 6 months towards the election, that hunger goes away.
We start singing.
So it's just a waste of time for me to advise Kenyans, because they don't listen. I've said it many times that we need to build a strong parties in this country. We need to have morals in this country, but we do not. We don't even vote with our conscience. Nobody will vote for you because you are deliver, because you are worker, because you can deliver. They will vote for you because Bichachi said vote for this man, and Bichachi caused shorts in that region. This is the problem we're having in this country. And unless that one changes, I'll tell you the reason why I'm not in parliament. I'm not in parliament not because I never worked for people of Mwingi Central. It is because I went against the Wiper. Simple as that. And the day Kenyans will come and start thinking about, we want to elect Joe Mutambo because he can deliver, then we'll be heading somewhere. Kenyans don't think that way. And I'll give you an example for another person who is not in parliament, not because he never worked. One Honorable Tuju. There's nothing which he never did in his area. But he's not in the parliament because he opposed Raila. Those are the kind of things we have in this country. And that is the problem we're having.
Right.
Then we also need to change our constitution to align the political parties. The political parties do not belong to members. They belong to individuals. So there's a lot of things. And that's what I'm saying, do I need to waste my time advising Kenyans? The only person I want to advise here is one Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, who is my best friend and my president. You know, I missed some discussion here. Presidents swear only when they are taking oath to office. President is a very,
powerful office.
Very powerful office. And if people are not doing the right things, it perhaps me to see the president stand on a dais and say, "Akia Mungu, nyinyi mukirudia tena." You know, that thing should not even happen. There was a time when the president looks around and see Bichachi is not even here. Bichachi, tomorrow we are not working because you are not doing what is right. We are belittling our president.